Imagine spending your entire life building the perfect career, becoming one of the most promising neurosurgeons in Boston, winning awards, saving lives, and then, in a single night, everything comes crashing down. A respected doctor is arrested, a young patient dies, a lawsuit threatens to destroy a career, and a woman who spent years running from her past is suddenly forced to return to the one place she never wanted to see again. Today, we're diving into the emotional and dramatic story of Sullivan's Crossing Season 1, Episodes 1 through 5. This isn't just a story about love. It's not just about family. It's about regret, second chances, and the painful truth that sometimes the hardest journey is the one that leads you back home. But what happens next changes everything. Let's begin. The story opens in Boston. Inside a busy hospital, talented neurosurgeon Maggie Sullivan is in the middle of another chaotic shift. Two young men are rushed into the emergency room after a devastating car accident. One of them is 18-year-old Jamal Patterson. The other is Kevin Markiff. Both are critically injured. But Maggie is calm, focused, precise. Exactly the kind of doctor patients trust with their lives. While treating Kevin, Maggie learns he is a promising football player. Even while injured, he's worried about getting back onto the field. But suddenly, the situation becomes worse. Jamal's condition rapidly deteriorates. Doctors rush him into surgery. The pressure is enormous. Lives are hanging by a thread. And Maggie handles everything like a professional. At least, that's what it looks like on the surface. Because outside the hospital, a completely different storm is waiting. That evening, after finally getting a moment to breathe, Maggie sits alone outside the hospital, exhausted, drained, trying to clear her mind. That's when her boyfriend, Andrew Matthews, arrives. Andrew is also a surgeon, successful, intelligent, and deeply in love with Maggie. But tonight, he has big news. The hospital has offered him a position. If he accepts, they'll finally work together. Even better, his divorce is officially finalized. For Andrew, everything seems perfectly timed. Their future together is finally becoming real. He even hints at moving in together. But Maggie doesn't react the way he expected. Instead of excitement, there's hesitation. Something is clearly bothering her. Something she isn't ready to talk about. Soon they arrive at an elegant award ceremony. Maggie's mother, Phoebe, and her wealthy stepfather, Walter Lancaster, are waiting. Walter is a legendary surgeon who helped inspire Maggie's medical career. Tonight, Maggie is being honored as one of the brightest rising neurosurgeons in Boston. The future couldn't look brighter. As Maggie walks onto the stage to accept her award, the crowd applauds. Cameras flash. Everyone celebrates her success. But then, everything falls apart. Without warning, federal agents storm into the event. The room falls silent. Confusion spreads. And moments later, Maggie's mentor, Dr. Bob Hollis, is arrested. But that's not all. To everyone's shock, Maggie is arrested too. No explanation, no warning, just handcuffs, public humiliation, and a future suddenly hanging by a thread. No one expected what happens next. The story jumps forward. Maggie is driving alone through rural Nova Scotia, far away from Boston, far away from her career, far away from the disaster that destroyed her life. Her destination is a place called Sullivan's Crossing, a peaceful campground surrounded by forests, lakes, and mountains, a place she once called home, a place she hasn't truly belonged to for many years. As Maggie arrives, she is greeted by Frank and Edna Cranebear, two people who helped raise her when she was young. They welcome her warmly, but everyone knows something is wrong, because Maggie wouldn't come back unless she had nowhere else to go. Soon she reunites with her father, Sullivan, and the reunion is awkward, painfully awkward. Years of distance stand between them, years of unanswered questions, years of hurt feelings. Maggie chooses to stay in her old childhood room. As she settles in, memories begin flooding back. For the first time in years, she is forced to confront the life she left behind, and it becomes obvious that Sullivan has never fully recovered from losing her. The house is neglected, the campground is struggling, and the relationship between father and daughter remains badly broken. But before Maggie can process any of this, a new problem appears. She receives a call from Andrew, and what he tells her is devastating.
Although criminal charges against her have been dropped, her reputation is ruined. The hospital is distancing itself. Doctors are whispering. Careers are being destroyed. And Andrew himself has lost opportunities because of his connection to the scandal. The cracks in their relationship are starting to show. Meanwhile, Nidhi meets a mysterious man named Cal Jones. Their first encounter is anything but romantic. In fact, they immediately annoy each other. Maggie assumes Cal is flirting. Cal thinks Maggie is arrogant. Neither makes a good first impression. But something about this encounter feels important, as if fate has quietly placed them on the same path, and neither realizes it yet. But what Maggie doesn't know is that her worst nightmare is still waiting for her. Because back in Boston, a young patient she treated is about to become the center of a legal battle that could destroy everything she has left. And when that news finally reaches her, her entire future at Sullivan's Crossing will change forever. But that's where we'll pause for now, because in the next part, a shocking death, a devastating lawsuit, and a growing connection between Maggie and Cal begin to reshape everything. And trust me, the drama is only getting started.
As Maggie settles into life at Sullivan's Crossing, the peace around her hides the chaos brewing beneath the surface. Back in Boston, her legal troubles continue to grow. A patient she treated, Kevin Marketh, has died from an aneurysm, and now his grieving mother is suing Maggie and the hospital for negligence. Even though Maggie insists she did nothing wrong, the lawsuit threatens her medical license and everything she has worked for. While struggling with anxiety and nightmares, Maggie slowly reconnects with the people of the crossing. She helps an elderly resident named Roy, who suffers from memory problems after losing his wife. When Roy collapses and hits his head, Maggie quickly takes charge of the emergency. Cal helps her throughout the crisis, and for the first time, the tension between them begins to soften. A friendship starts to form. But things become even more complicated when Andrew unexpectedly arrives at Sullivan's Crossing. He apologizes for doubting her and admits he doesn't want to lose her. Maggie is torn. Part of her still loves Andrew, but another part is beginning to feel something different whenever Cal is around. Meanwhile, Sully and Maggie continue struggling with old wounds. Maggie still blames him for not fighting harder to keep her when her mother took her away years ago. Sully, on the other hand, believes he lost the right to call himself her father long ago. Just when life seems to be calming down, disaster strikes. During a community celebration, a teenage girl named Chelsea disappears. The entire campground goes into panic mode. Search teams spread across the woods. Cal and Maggie lead the effort. Hours pass. No sign of Chelsea. Then something terrifying happens. Frank discovers a group of reckless young men illegally shooting rifles in the forest. Chelsea is with them. Before Frank can stop them, one of the boys accidentally fires his weapon. The bullet tears into Frank's stomach. Terrified, the boys flee, leaving Frank alone in the wilderness, bleeding, dying, and no one knows where he is. But what happens next changes everything. The search for Chelsea leads Maggie and Cal deep into the woods. There, they make a horrifying discovery. Frank is lying on the ground with a gunshot wound. Using her medical training, Maggie keeps him alive until help arrives. But she quickly realizes the shooters are still out there. Following a clue she remembers from an earlier encounter, Maggie and Cal track the suspects to a remote cabin. Inside, Chelsea is being held by the frightened young men. The situation becomes incredibly dangerous. One wrong move could get someone killed. Ignoring the risks, Maggie approaches the armed shooter herself. She speaks calmly, carefully, trying to convince him to surrender. For a tense moment, nobody knows whether he will pull the trigger. Then finally, he lowers the gun. Police arrive, Chelsea is rescued, and the nightmare finally ends. But while one crisis is over, another is just beginning. Maggie and Cal grow closer than ever after surviving the ordeal. They share quiet conversations by the lake, fishing trips, late-night talks, and moments neither of them can't ignore. At the same time, Andrew becomes more distant as work consumes his life. Every phone call feels rushed. Every conversation feels shorter. The emotional gap between them keeps growing. Then Cal reveals a painful secret. He isn't just a handyman helping around the campground. He's actually a lawyer. And years earlier, he lost his wife to ALS. The grief still follows him everywhere. For the first time, Maggie sees the sadness hiding behind Cal's smile. And suddenly, their connection becomes much deeper. But neither of them realizes another storm is coming. A storm that could destroy Sully's future forever. While Maggie focuses on her upcoming deposition, Sully faces a crisis of his own. The campground is drowning in debt. Loan payments are overdue, reservations are being canceled, and the bank is preparing to take everything. For generations, Sullivan's Crossing has been part of his family. Now he may lose it all. At the same time, Maggie's stepfather Walter arrives to help prepare her legal defense. His arrival immediately creates tension. Walter and Sully despise each other. Years of resentment explode back to the surface. Flashbacks finally reveal the painful truth. After Maggie's parents separated, Phoebe took Maggie away to Boston. Sully spiraled into alcoholism, and despite desperately wanting to see his daughter, he was shut out of her life. The wounds never healed. As emotions boil over, Sully learns that Walter once encouraged Phoebe to leave him behind. Furious and heartbroken, Sully confronts Walter. The argument quickly turns ugly. Then, in a single moment of rage, Sully punches him. Everything falls apart. Walter storms away. Maggie is horrified. To her, it feels like history repeating itself. The father she hoped had changed suddenly looks like the same broken man from her childhood. Despite Sully begging her to stay, Maggie packs her bags. Once again, she leaves Sullivan's Crossing. Once again, Sully watches his daughter drive away, just like he did years ago. As the episode ends, Sully sits alone with his regrets. His daughter is gone, his campground is failing, his future is uncertain, and for the first time, it feels like he may truly lose everything. But beneath all the heartbreak lies the real message of Sullivan's Crossing. Sometimes people spend years running from their pain, only to discover that healing can only begin when they finally face it. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more movie and TV series breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.